Hello and welcome to Introduction to the World Designer. In this video, we are going to cover the basics of the World Designer and the power for this new way to procedurally generate your worlds. So, without further ado, let's build worlds together. Alright, so starting off, we have our empty scene here. We have already imported Gaia Pro 2021. We can go to Window, Procedure Worlds, Gaia, Show Gaia Manager. Before we get started, let's understand how to use Gaia and where all the bits of information are, just in case you get stuck or need help at any time. Here, you can see these question marks, which are actually tooltips to help you understand each section of the Gaia Manager or any part of Gaia. If you also hover over the word, this will bring up the tooltip for that particular word and what it means. Secondly, we can go to Help, click on Tutorials, and this will bring up the tutorials for the Procedure Worlds assets. And then we can click on Ticketed Support, and here is our knowledge base. And if you can't find the answer here for the question that you have, feel free to lodge a ticket with us so our support can help you out. And if you're happy with the product, let us know how we're doing and rate and review the asset. The first thing that we're going to do is select our world size. So tiny, small, medium, large, and custom. We're going to click on small. And then we can open up the advanced options for world size. And we can see that our tile size is 512 and our tile height is 512. And our X tiles and our Z tiles. If you wanted to create massive worlds, you can do this with Gaia. So let's say we create a 20 by 20. You can see here that the Create Terrain Scenes box is enabled and Unload Terrain Scenes box is also enabled. And the Floating Point Fix is also enabled. Settings for the terrain streaming were activated according to our tile count. And in the background, we can actually see that this is how massive our worlds would look like. So, let's go ahead and stick with this for a second. And then let's choose our target platform. So, ultralight, mobile and VR, desktop, powerful desktop, and custom. We're just going to stick with desktop. Next, we're going to choose our target biome. So we have our alpine meadow biome and the rest of our presets, and you can make custom biomes. And there'll be a tutorial later about that. Next, we have our world designer, which is our random generation, or you can go with the manual stamper. We are going to select the random generation tool. And now we can create the world designer. This is going to set up our lighting because we're in HDRP. And there we go. Now we're going to drag this manager out of the way for the moment. The first thing that we can see is the size graph here. Next, we have this little box that we can enable and disable certain parts of the preview. So we have our draw preview, stamp density and width, sample scaled objects, the sample objects handles, and the size graph. So we can turn that off if we want to. So the sample scaled objects are actually, let's zoom in here so we can take a look. This is a fairly massive world here. And here we are. Our house, our tree, and our character. And we can move those around as well. So let's zoom back out. And now let's take a look at the inspector. First thing you'll see is the world settings, then the world shape, and the world detail. The world settings is the settings we just chose in the Gaia Manager. our world size, target platform, target biome, and here we can adjust the sea level. Next is the world shape. This world shape is a base for the world details, stampers, and spawners. The first thing that we can choose is the shape input type, which we have generator, image, or existing terrain. If we select image, this will allow us to change our base to a particular image height map. So let's say I want to make this into a skull and turn this island into Skull Island. If I had a height map of a skull, I could select it, and the world detail will adjust accordingly to our height detail and our height map that we've just implemented. But for right now, we're going to choose the generator. Next, we have our border style, which is water, mountains, or none. If we select mountains, we'll see some high points here, or we can choose our water. Next, we have our height scale, which is the overall height scale of the total base terrain, or the height of the feature size. Then we have the base height, which is the height of the terrain. We can move that up. This is particularly good if you wanted to dig down into the terrain and create caves or tunnels, because if this was at 0, you would not be able to dig down, except for the height of the highest point of the terrain, down to 0. So giving this a little bit of scale will allow us to dig some caves. And then we can adjust our sea level here and raise this up. Next, you have your noise style, which is purlin, billow, ridge, and value. The strength of the noise, the steepness of the noise, we can kind of see this here. Here's the steepness, the offset, the feature size, the granularity, kind of giving sharpness to the noise, and then the warp iterations, which is causing some distortion. The higher the number this is, the amount of distortions will happen. Next, we have our world detail, which is our stamp density, stamp jitter, stamp width, and stamp impact. We can actually take a look at this and visualize this. So our stamp density is the number of stamps. The stamp jitter is the variation of the jump. We can turn this down quite a bit, something like this. The stamp width is the width of the stamps. See that increasing there? And then the stamp impact of the terrain is a multiplicator for the overall stamp height. The higher the value, the higher the stamps will be on the terrain. Note that you can adjust stamp heights per category in the advanced settings per category below. So we'll just increase that to like there. Next, we have our different presets. So we have plains, valleys, and lakes, mesas, hills, mountains, islands, and rivers. And here, let's turn this off. We have our visualization. So let's just change this to a different color so we can see it. Something like black will work. Actually, let's go bright yellow. There we go. And let's turn that on. So right here on the edges, we can see that. Let's go ahead and open this up. One thing I want to point out is we have our spawn probability. This is the probability of this feature to spawn. And we can do that for each one of them. Or if you want maybe a chance of rivers to spawn, not so much islands. I do want some mountains, a lot of hills, not so much mesas, maybe some lakes, and I want a lot of plains. So we can then click on the height probability, And here we can actually see this change. Oop, let's move. Grab it and drag it. It's a little harder to see there. Let's just change this color here. Go something like, there we go. That looks good. We can see this color now. So we can see that this is where the probability of the stamps will spawn, is in these sections. And we can continue playing with these and adjusting accordingly to get really interesting and unique results. Next, we're going to take a look at the invert chance, which is the chance that the feature will spawn inverted. The width range, the width of the feature type on the terrain. The min and max height, strength, and midpoint. And each one of these has the same settings, so we can change them per preset. Next, we have randomize all and randomize stamps. If we randomize all, it will randomize the world detail and the world shape. If we randomize the stamps, it will only randomize the world detail. So let's go ahead and just click on randomize all. Now, you'll notice right off the bat that we are only rendering a partial preview. We render a partial preview because this takes a lot of data, and this is dependent on hardware and memory for the preview. So, we can render the full preview if we want to. We can click on render full preview here. Just note that this might take a second, depending on how large your world is. And you can see that it's rendering all the stamps there. And there we go. We have a massive island here. That has been completely randomized and giving very unique results. You can move these X and Z tiles to take a preview of a particular tile or particular terrain. And there you go. Now let's go ahead and keep randomizing and see some of the different results that we can get. Let's randomize all. At this point, Gaia is handling a massive size world here. And we are able to render an entire preview of what this world would look like. Just note that this is not actually the terrain, and we would have to generate our world when we find an option that we like. Let's continue randomizing. Let's do it one more time. Randomize full preview here. There we go. And you can see how many have spawned. So we've got 26 plains, 31 valleys and lakes, 7 mesas, 10 hills, 25 mountains, 6 islands, and 16 rivers. Let's go ahead and collapse these a bit. All right. Now, if I wanted to make this world even larger, I can. So let's open up the world settings and open up the size. And right now we're at 20 per row and column. So that's 400 terrains. Let's go ahead and make this 50. Hit enter. Yes, let's clear our stamps. Let's pull down that sea level. And let's pull up our base height. There we go. And now let's randomize all. So it looks like we're spawning 324 stamps. And let's render full preview. And there we go. So we are rendering 2,500 terrains. Now, this is going to be perfect for the create scenes for terrains and unload the scenes immediately, because we would not be able to handle all of these scenes loaded in at one time. So we would want to unload some of these scenes and work on them in small batches. And this is what this is allowing us to do. So this is our world streaming capability. For large environments, there's a limit of number of terrains at one time. So to get around this, we turn large worlds into multiple terrains and unload them. The floating point fix solves an environment size limit. So the farther away that the character gets from 0, we will get tearing and all sorts of weirdness. So adding in the floating point fix will solve that issue. And now let's go ahead and just make a small world. Let's clear our stamps. Well, that's actually really cool there. So I like this terrain. I like this little mountain here. We got some low ridges to the ocean here. And this is what I want to see. Next, you have appearance in Gizmos, so you can still show the sea level plane, sea level in the spawner preview, and show the bounding box. The export preview, with this button, you can save the current preview as a stamp image, which can be used in the stamper. So let's say you are randomizing your stamps and you really like one, but that's not quite what you're looking for. You can export this preview and we can save it here. Let's just change a new name for this and say possible 2. Let's save this, and it's going to save that preview and turn this into an EXR later, which is really powerful. And we can save and load our changes. So now that I want this world, I'm going to generate our world. So what this is going to do is export the world map to a new terrain setup. This will delete all of your existing terrains and build a new world from scratch. So be sure that you, if you need to, save a backup. Always save a backup, especially if you have existing terrains. So you can hit cancel there, save your backup. But we're going to click OK. I don't have any existing terrains here. I'm going to let it do its thing here. Now the biome and the stamper are working together, so as it's stamping, the biome is going ahead and texturing our terrain for us. And there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is save. I'm going to go File, Save. Always save just in case. And then let's pull up our manager. And then let's create a runtime. So we got our flying camera. Our skies is day. It's going to quick bait our lighting for us. And let's go ahead and just generate runtime. There we go. All right. Now, what we saw earlier is that these terrains are now its own separate scene, which is going to be great for world streaming here. And we can actually click on the Gaia Runtime. And then let's click on the Terrain Loader Manager. And here we can load all or unload all, or we can load in certain ones or unload certain ones. There we go. What's important to note here is if you wanted to add another terrain, you can. You can click on the terrain and then hit ingest. And again, we see these little tooltips here, just in case you need to know what each little section is. We can quickly see what that is. And there we go. So now let's finish this off and let's click on our biome. And let's go ahead and spawn our biome. Alright, let's take a look. If you guys are seeing this little Unity flashing here, this is just Unity. And then secondly, if you guys are in HDRP and you're seeing these white planes, these are normal because Unity does not handle HDRP grass. But with the new Flora system in Gaia Pro 2021, we actually can see the grass in play mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and click play. And now we have a beautifully procedurally generated world. And here's our grass and stuff from Flora. It just looks absolutely amazing. In the background, you can hear some of the audio from the Gaia audio spawner. This looks super, super good. So, I hope you guys liked this video. Please remember to leave a like, hit the bell icon to get future updates on the tutorials that release. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.